Om Shanti and welcome back to Light of Knowledge with Dr. Inga. She's a management expert and we are going to ask her all the questions we can regarding managing our life, be it at home, be it at work, or all the other scenarios that we face with. Our topic for discussion today is managing our emotions at work. Dr. Inga, welcome back.
Nice to see you again. Nice to be here in the studio.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Inga, I am talking from the perspective of a subordinate. I am putting long hours at work and I'm doing my best I can. But in spite of that, I'm not getting the recognition that I deserve. And someone else gets the promotion I deserve. And I feel that there has been some kind of favoritism which has gone towards the other person. So in such a scenario, how do I manage my feelings? How do I continue working at that place knowing that maybe justice has not been served?
Good question. So in any difficult situation, when we have to make a decision, so we should first ask ourselves, should we leave? Would we like to stay or should we leave? And that's it. If you would like to stay, so you should do something with this situation, with your emotions. And we will consider this point. So, for example, you would like to stay, and but still you're angry and frustrated, for example, and not respected enough. So here comes another attitude to this situation. Look at the company you are working in from the management perspective. So whether it's a system, for example, that has nothing to do with the boss. Mm-hmm. It just has how the system works.
Okay.
And there can be, for example, a technical mistake. Yeah, and nothing can be done with that.
When you say technical mistake, what are we referring to?
Can be anything. For example, it's not a direct decision of your boss, but for example, there can be some rating or some figures and numbers. So we don't know what is being compared when two employees, between two employees. Mm-hmm. We don't know what is our rating.
That's right, because sometimes we try to base our raise or our promotion only on the number of hours we're putting in, but maybe our punctuality, how we interact with others. Yeah, that's making a lot of sense.
And also our effectiveness, productivity. We don't know what, from what angles we have been screened.
That's right.
Okay, and we don't know what type of personality is needed on that particular, for example, level.
That's right.
And we don't know whether we match it or not. So it's seen only in a distance, and that's what middle management and top management are for. So they are in charge of this human decision. So because you never know when you look up, you never know what is in the sky. You don't know how strong you should be, for example, and maybe you can't cope. You don't know what kind of problems arise on this level.
Right.
And if you can't cope on this level, so here you would be frustrated. So, and it's just a good point that you haven't been selected.
Okay. So there's a good reason behind not being selected. So as opposed to doubting the boss, maybe if we talk to ourselves, then it might make a lot more sense. A lot of times the person might take it out on the other person. Like if I got the promotion, which the other person did not get, he or she will be angry at me, passing some remarks, or maybe I'll just get some negative vibrations from that person. So in such a scenario, how should I manage my emotions?
Well, of course, the easiest thing is just to come up to this personality and just to reveal yourself openly. Just to say that, again, it hasn't been your decision. You just answered, like positively to that offer, but it wasn't your decision. You have been promoted. So there's a passive voice, okay, so in the English sentence. And you respect your subordinate and you understand all his strong points, and you also believe that he supports this position, but it was not your decision.
Right.
It was not you who made this final, selection, but soul-to-soul conversation, like being a human being goes first. First, you should be a human being.
Right. So respect the soul. I mean, the person, not the position, or
Yes, and just reveal yourself as a human being. Of course, if you can, because we don't know what kind of personality it is. But we can always talk nicely to each other and giving some supportive words, saying like, yeah, I know how you feel actually. If I were in your shoes, so I would also be frustrated. But maybe not this time. Maybe it's not your really, choice. Maybe there's something better somewhere for you.
Right. Actually, that made a lot of sense. Talking about it's not just one factor that they base their decision on. There's a whole list that they have to follow. And it's like you said, the middle management, the upper management, that made a lot of sense. If we continue our discussion with the workplace, many times we are, especially these days where they're cutting down the staff, we are handling the work of several people. I mean, in the olden days, what I did, I'm doing 4 times more because they have let go a lot of people. In that case, again, there will be a lot of frustration, and the pay doesn't necessarily increase, with the amount of work that you do. So how do I, again, manage my emotions here?
Well, first of all, we shouldn't manage our emotions. We should manage actually the infrastructure. So we should go and talk if it's possible. If it's not possible and the situation is really tough and it's a company's decision, like to reduce the staff and to put lots of work on the shoulders of the subordinates, what will happen finally? Again, people are not robots. And some work will be just not done. And it will be revealed.
Right.
And it will be, management decision what to do further.
Okay. Every subordinate has a goal of being a boss someday. And will that give rise to any kind of negative feelings in my mind? Like, I feel like I'm better than my boss, but maybe he or she is the boss just because he's been with the company longer than I have, or for whatever reasons. How do I not create that resentment in my mind and, be a good employee?
I always say you never know what is behind the curtains.
Okay.
You just look at the stage and you think, oh, everything is so wonderful. Okay, so go behind. So see see the kitchen, see the culinary. So look at the dirty hands. Okay, so management is not about telling people what to do. And not every professional can be a manager.
Okay, so
these are totally different stuff.
Okay. So there is a lot more to being in the management position than we normally give credit to.
And you're saying that, oh, okay, just because I'm a professional, I can manage. Not at all.
Okay, that's an important distinction. What, in this case, the question comes to mind is, what are the qualities that one should be having, possessing, in order to be a good manager? I mean, is it just having an MBA that makes you a good manager, or what does it take to be a good manager?
I would actually say, like, for example, what makes a dancer a good dancer? What makes a driver a good driver? How do we measure these things? Even we people, when we come to the theater and watch so many dancers, so they dance so beautifully and maybe professionally, why do we stare at only one person?
Okay.
What makes him shine?
Right, right.
The same about management. It's just inherited things. So people are either born to be managers, or they aren't. The same about being born. So you can't learn. I mean, of course you can learn, but it's like, for example, dancing. So if you don't have this 1% of being gifted, of being talented, so all this 90%, 99% of our job, so learning all the steps and movements, won't make you a star, a shining star.
All right. So it has to be within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, people, it's like we kids, we feel inside. So what I would like to do? Would I like to dance, or would I like to paint? Or would I like to deal with people? Like show them the path, organize them, collaborate with them, listen to them, put them into cooperation. So can I screen people? Can I feel them? Do I love people?
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
This is the key question.
Yeah.
Do I really love people? So being a manager, being a boss, who are you going to manage? Robots? Venues?
Right.
No, first of all, people. Do you love them?
This is a very important and intriguing and a new concept that you have just stated. Normally, the understanding is that you love your family, but loving your coworkers or loving people at work, your subordinates, your boss, that's a totally new concept. So if you could please talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, because love can be different. And this love is very much connected to respect. So it's like unconditional love, so general love. So it's like, for example, loving your country.
Yeah.
So, but your country can hurt you every day with the taxes and with the traffic jams and whatever, with the polluted environment.
Sure.
But still you say, I love my country. This is something connected with that.
Okay.
So you know that people can hurt you every day. Subordinates can make many mistakes, but in general, so would you like to go back to work every morning? Or you can't wake yourself up? If you can't wake yourself up, there's a time to start thinking about whether you're on the right place, not just because you're bad, no, but just maybe you're not a dancer. Maybe you're a singer.
Okay. In Western countries, there are more options where you can leave one job. Like you enrolled yourself in a place that needs a dancer and you're a singer, then you just, walk out. But in certain countries, this is not an option. And, once you get a job, you just want to stay with it for as long as you can sustain it. So what is the shift, the inner shift that we have to make in order to survive in such an environment?
Okay, so let me put it into another, angle, another perspective. So Just imagine yourself hating your job, all your responsibilities for how long? Okay, so you don't like it for a week, for months, for a year. So what will happen to you finally?
I don't want to even think about it.
You see, I don't give straight recommendations. I just turn the questions into the thoughtful way.
Right.
So start thinking about that. So don't find yourself on the final, moment when you are broken or sick, or so. Start thinking a little bit preliminary. So because your intuition tells you the truth. There's something going on. Maybe in general everything is okay, and you can convince yourself, okay, this is my job, so I can't do anything else. So maybe it's a false belief. You never saw that. You never investigated your belief system. So where did this thought come up from? Maybe from your family. Okay, maybe 50 years ago it was very difficult to change your job. But now the world is so much developing, so fast developing. So we have to acquire new skills, I don't know, every day. We have to read a lot. We have to practice a lot. So don't you think that you have already developed a new, level of skills? So you can find yourself in something else.
Yeah.
But you just haven't analyzed yourself.
That's true. Actually, maybe we're just in the comfort zone, being in the old job. And we don't want to take any chances? Or
of course, we do have commitments, and maybe, yes, we have a family, we have kids, for example, we have to pay for many credits and for the houses and for... But you can do it in the parallel way. You don't have to quit, for example, something which you don't like.
Sure.
But you can sustain yourself somewhere, else, like developing a habit or starting learning and developing new skills for a new profession, but in a very long future, not immediate. So say, for example, not 3 years time, but like 5 years time or 10 years time, and see what happens. You stopped thinking negatively. It's like, for example, having a new love.
Right. You're taking your mind off the old problem.
Yes.
You've developed a new interest.
Yes.
So,
and another thing, what happens, so all this enthusiasm which you collect in something new, you will bring onto your old job. And you will be surprised, it will flourish.
That sounds very, very nice if that happens, yeah. And I can almost see it happening. That's very true. Sometimes it does happen, though, that, another important point that you made was don't necessarily think of it as a short-term goal. It may not happen overnight. It may not happen in a few months, but give it time. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, as long as it takes.
Yeah, and don't put yourself mentally in a tough position. So give yourself time and start listening to yourself. You may say nobody listens to you. Okay, so be the first person
to listen to yourself.
To listen to yourself. And don't run before the train. So just take your time. So enjoy the process. Tell yourself that you deserve to enjoy at least something in this life and not to do it for money. Don't run behind the train. So give yourself time and do something with joy. and pleasure. And fulfill yourself with these positive emotions. Just at least be happy. Just be happy. And if you come to the job which you don't like with a happy face, so everything will be changed.
Right.
Your attitude, first of all, your attitude will be changed.
Right. Let's look at this from a different perspective, from being a boss and having to deal with the subordinates. Many times there are situations where you train people. I mean, there are companies who like to hire people right out of college, so they don't have to pay them much, I suppose, and they train them. Nowadays, I'm not sure if they ask you to, promise them that you're gonna be staying with them for so many years. Maybe this is not the case anymore. But you train them and you put all your time and money in it, and they just leave you after some time. So this can be very frustrating from the point of view of a boss or even the company at large. How does the management part come into this?
Yeah, here's a very simple solution from the management part and from the business part. Companies train their personnel very precisely. So they train them on the skills which are needed just for their corporate culture.
Okay, that's right.
And you can make your career just within this company. And when you think that you become so much skillful and mature that you can find another job, unfortunately not. So you just jump on the raw market and nobody demands your skill because they're so much, limited.
Right. That's very true. It's like you become specialized in something.
Yes.
And that art that you have may not necessarily be
adjusted to any other businesses or companies, because corporate cultures are very, very different and businesses are very, very different.
That's right.
So companies also wise, so they invest the money wisely. So companies are not university. When you come to university, you pay your money, and that's why university is called a university. So it just gives you universal knowledge.
Right.
But now the demand of the time is to give the knowledge very precisely, and even the universities, like our university, for example, we invite practitioners, we invite businessmen, we invite managers from different companies just to share their experience to the students, because students also want to hear something practical but not theoretical.
Right. Dr. Inga, thank you once again for this beautiful conversation where you have brought in a lot of insight to common day problems. So we look forward to seeing you again in our studio so we can continue this conversation.
And I look forward to coming here again. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Dr. Inga brought up a very beautiful and unique, if I may, perspective to the workplace. That the analogy she had for us was, just the way you love your country, you can love your workplace. Because normally the understanding is, or the feeling is that, okay, I love my family, but bringing that feeling of love to your workplace will also go a long way in keeping our life in harmony. With these words, I would like to thank you for watching this episode, and we'll see you again in our next episode. Thank you.